you, Pedro. Thank you, Pedro. Thank you all. Please invite Juliet, Romana, Peter. Please come closer. Yes. David, there is an extra seat. I think we might not need, just one for Betty that is coming. So I know that is the last session of the day, so we are delighted to have this space, but I believe that you're also tired, so we'll try to keep the discussion interesting as much as possible. As Pedro mentioned, I'm the FFR country coordinator for Kenya and Uganda, and I'm delighted to have seen a lot of Ugandans as well these days at the summit, so I'm glad to have seen such engagement. Our discussion will be focusing on enabling rural people to access international remittances, and I'm delighted to discuss this with distinguished panelists on how to handle rural people to access remittance through partnership. Kenya has over 5,000 SACCOs, of which 361 are regulated by SASTRA, the national authority established in 2008 as recognition of SACCO's relevance within the financial sector. SACCO presence is critical, especially in rural areas, where these institutions are often the sole provider of financial services. According to the existing regulatory framework, SACCOs are not entitled to handle international remittances service directly. Therefore, SACCO collaborate with banks to allow their members to access remittances. The panel aims to shed light on current remittance partnership mechanisms between SACCO and banks and on the fintech role within this space, in enhancing SACCO digitalization and in supporting improved remittance-related service at last mile. Okay, so waiting for Betty, but in the meantime, I'm happy to introduce my panelists, starting with Romana. Romana Redboot, Country General Manager for Interswitch Kenya. I think we can move with Peter Njuguna, CEO of SASRA, and then we have Juliet Muro, Senior Digital Financial Infrastructure Specialist at FSD Kenya. Maybe in the interest of time, to allow Betty to join in our conversation, I'll give you 1 minute time for an intro if you wish. Romana, if you wish, break the ice.
Good afternoon, everybody. As you hear, my name is Romana Rajput, and I look after Interswitch's business in Kenya. Interswitch is a Pan-African payment company. We help build ecosystems across the continent, born in Nigeria originally, but we are present in East Africa, in Kenya, Uganda, and the DRC. We help financial institutions and fintechs and indeed international remittance companies, transmit money around. That's what we do. And we're very excited to be here today as part of this discussion, a very important discussion about our partnership with SACCOs. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you so much, Romana. Over to Mr. Njuna, CEO of SASRA.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Yes, I'm Peter, and I oversee a SACCO industry through the regulator, SACCO-SAT Regulatory Authority, which is 12 years old, and we oversee a sector that is basically community-based financial institutions, that is savings and credit cooperatives, which today hold assets of $5 billion, serving about, to be exact, 6.4 million Kenyans, and they are spread across the country, and they have evolved to offer full service, full range of services to their clients as the clients demand. And therefore, it's an honor to be here to share their experience that is emerging on remittances, because we've seen SACCOs play in that space. And I think as we have this conversation, then we can deepen their reach, and that will mean they can provide the last mile to reach more Kenyans who are in rural Kenya. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Peter. Juliet, over to you.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Juliet Mburu. I work for an organization called Financial Sector Deepening Kenya, or in short, FSD Kenya. Our key mandate is really to support Kenya achieve its long-term financial sector goals broadly. But basically how we do that is we work with the government, we work with the industry, the financial sector industry, to help to develop solutions that address the real world issues. The key target populations that we are interested in is low-income livelihoods, low-income households, small and micro businesses, and underserved groups such as, traditionally underserved groups such as women and youth. So my role at FSD is I lead the work around digital payments, as well as the work around digital economy. So I work with a lot of the colleagues even in the room around payments, digital, working on some projects around digital ID, remittances, work a lot with a lot of you here with industry associations. And yes, just happy to be here. Thank you.
Good. Excellent. Thank you so much. I think we can start our conversation, and I believe Betty will jump in when she's arrived. The first question is for Peter. Peter, what drives the interest at the SACCO level to be part of the international remittance value chain? Do you know how many SACCO are already active in this space, and what is the most common setting these entities put in place?
Thank you, David, for that question. Yeah, the interest that SACCOs are having remittances is driven by one, growing demand for their services. In Kenya, SACCOs cut across from the high-income earners to the low-income earners, right in the village. And that has seen increasing demand as they grow to offer banking services, and as they also respond to the demands of their customers. SACCOs have opened their common bonds. If it's a teacher or coffee-based or dairy farmer SACCO, they are serving the entire community. And that means there are a lot of demand for their services. Increasingly from the traditional savings and credit, they are now in payment space. But as they open their common bond, we've also seen in Kenya, a lot of people looking for opportunities out there, either employment or even business. And SACCOs are also, serving business community. So we have seen their interest in, remittances growing from that push from their customers, and they have responded. And what form is that taking? By and large, SACCOs, because they are not payment service providers, by their nature, they partner with payment service providers, including banks, and payment service providers like, say, InterSwitch and the like, and we have seen that working. So that the remittances will not necessarily terminate at their SACCO accounts, seated in banks. So I think them take that form, partnering with the international money remittances, as well as banks who offer that service. So broadly, that is a form we've taken, and I think their push is basically to deepen financial inclusion to the lowest point. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter. Just to know, do you know how many of them are active in this space? If any insight on that?
Very well. One, we may not have precise number, but I think it's a significant number. And I think that's why this conversation we are having with the FSD, IFRID, to explore and get statistics. But I think from the data we've collected, there are SACCOs that have been in that space for, even 10 years. through these partnerships, but the precise number is something that we hope to achieve through the discussions we're having with FSD and IFAD to do a survey on that line. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. In the meantime, I saw Betty joining us. Welcome, Betty. And I hope you have a mic. Good, fantastic. Betty is the CEO at CBL Credit Bank Limited, Kenya. Betty, I would love you to address a question to you. You recently announced a partnership with SACCO to extend remittances to their members under an IFAD project framework. Can you tell us more about this strategic partnership? How did you identify the SACCO to partner with, and what's the final cost for senders to channel remittances to SACCO customers?
I hope you can hear me. Good evening, everyone. Sorry to have come a bit late. So yes, we've recently gone into partnership with SACCOs, and for us, I think we see it as part of our financial inclusion and deepening. I think the first question is, how did we identify the SACCOs? So first and foremost, because we are a licensed bank and a regulated bank. So the first thing that we needed to do was, first of all, to look at the standing of the SACCOs. So we look at the financial standing of the SACCOs to the extent that, you know, as and when required, they can avail the liquidity. We've also looked at the IT infrastructure just to make sure that they're able to network with all the parties, because then we are looking at our SACCOs as our means to get to the rural areas. The other criteria that we also look at is systems and processes, because obviously they are an extension of the bank being quite accountable and being able to be transparent and a trust partner. So we look at those processes as well. And the final thing that we look at is the population in terms of the number of people that they have in their SACCOs. So that's what we look at. And in terms of cost, can I just go ahead and answer that?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's very interesting because I think statistics that we've been able to obtain has shown that a bigger component of what would be, call it an impediment, so to speak, is the cost of remittances. And especially it differs depending on the corridors in which the various parties are coming from. So what we've done as a bank is to be able to look at some of these costs. We have partnership like InterSwitch, as you can see here. We are riding on the rails of RIA, and we've been able to actually bring down that cost by 50%. And I can state that at the moment in the industry, we are the lowest. And that cost could even come down a little depending on the corridors.
Thank you, Betty. Thank you so much. Romana, InterSwitch is already providing services to SACCO. Can you share your experience from a fintech perspective, and how remittance will be integrated as part of your service provision?
Thank you, David. So InterSwitch, you know, is a payment service provider. We're regulated by the Central Bank of Kenya. So we're a trusted partner in the payment space. We offer services to banks, and we saw that it was very possible with our platforms to extend those to the SACCOs. So today we serve approximately 7 SACCOs. We offer them services like we offer them cards, we offer them ATM outsource services, we offer them collect and pay solutions. So it's not a big stretch of the imagination if we can offer remittance services, inward remittance or support remittance service to the SACCO stored value or SACCO accounts. So this is what we are working together with our partners like Credit Bank, and Sastra and FSD to do, and IFAD, of course.
Okay, thanks. Moving to Juliet, FSD Kenya. Can you tell us more about your partnership with SASRA in the area of international remittances? We recently signed an agreement between FSD Kenya and IFAD with the collaboration of SASRA. So we would like to know more about it, and also what are the expected outcomes of it?
Yeah, thank you, David. So based on FSD's mandate, like I said, the key target groups that we are focused on are really a huge segment of the SACCO membership. So we're very excited to have just signed a partnership to work with SASRA. And this is an IFAD funded project. Basically, what the project seeks to do is just to really understand how SACCOs can be facilitated to offer remittances. So looking at what are the challenges in the market, what are the barriers, and what are the opportunities that exist. So the project basically has three components, and this first part is just mainly to do the study and really understand the landscape. So the three components are, we're first going to be looking at on the demand side, and here we're going to be looking at there's a lot of work that has been done, so we're going to be looking at what data does exist. We're also really looking forward to, and I think it was mentioned, I believe yesterday, we're looking forward to the first ever national remittances survey that the CBK is going to be running. We actually also, as FSD, we're also partnering with the CBK on this project together with Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. So we're really looking forward to the insights that we'll get out of that survey. We're also going to be talking at the senders and the receivers of remittances, and here we're going to be looking at people that receive remittances through SACCOs, because they are those that get them through SACCOs and those that do not, to just really understand what's going on there. We'll be talking to migrants that send remittances. We'll be talking to key stakeholders in the market that, such as the Kenya Diaspora Association, the State Department of Diaspora Affairs. I believe they were here yesterday, the first day. So just really looking at that whole side of the demand side of remittances. We're also then going to look at the supply side. So talking to the SACCOs, and here we're going to be talking to both the SACCOs that are playing in the remittance space and those that are not. We're going to be looking at the facilitators of these remittances, so talking to the banks, the fintechs, the mobile money operators, IMTOs. And then another very key area that we're really looking forward to is this new space that the SACCO industry through SASRA are going to be currently developing, which is this shared SACCO platform, and seeing how can this platform really be leveraged to help improve remittances through SACCOs. And then the third key area is actually we're going to be looking at the regulatory space. So just looking at what constraints are there in the market in terms of legal and regulation, and trying to see how those can be addressed. So it's a project that we're really looking forward to. The outcomes we hope to get, two main things. First one being around providing insights to the market, so that the market and the industry can really get some deep insights as to where they can play and where they can leverage, and what products they can build on what we find, and also just making recommendations as to what gaps exist in terms of regulation. So it's a project that we're really looking forward to kick off, and yeah, we hope to be inviting all of you to, when we're disseminating the findings, to validate that. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Juliet. Before moving ahead with the other question, I would love to hear a quick reaction from the other panelists on the aspect that you believe that are relevant for FSD Kenya study to unlock SACCO potentiality to extend remittances in the rural areas. What are the needs and information that you believe relevant for the industry and for the FSD study should take into account to provide additional value and impact? For anyone, I mean,
Thank you.
Peter? Yeah.
I think, as we said, with a growing interest in SACCOs and the SACCOs seeking to deepen their reach, I think it will be interesting to understand, one, the demographics of the people driving this, because you're seeing there are people, Kenyans working out there. So it would be very interesting to see what kind of demographics are these, what are the source markets for these, but more importantly is the costs, because like Betty says, we believe SACCOs, they are deposit-taking institutions and they are trying their best to offer, value to their services to their members. But we also know they are constrained through technology, because to offer payment solutions, they got to partner with other partners. So we got to look for an optimal model as we do the study from a demand and supply side to see how do we address this cost issue, because it limits. And because when you channel this money, if you are able to address some of these, then it means you'll attract more people to a formal system where you can actually see what kind of remittance. We know already is a big player, and I think we can only scale this if we address the cost question. So for us, that really would be very key to see what are the kind of cost through the channels that are preferred, and how can we address those because Kenya financial sector development is anchored on 3 dimensions. Efficiency is one. Then there's a question of stability and access. If you don't address inefficiency, the efficiency question, it undermines access as well as stability from where we see it. So it's critical that those elements be looked at.
Thank you, Peter. Romana, you wish to say something, or Betty, on this regard? Any reaction? Otherwise, we move ahead with the discussion.
I believe the question is on financial inclusion.
The question is regarding the FSD Kenya study on the SACCO. So, what are the data that you think they should take into account, to enlarge and to provide a better market insight for other actors to decide to move into this market?
All right, that's actually a very good question, and FSD has been a leader in terms of data and statistics, and I think for us as banks and SACCOs as well, we really leverage and mine on data and statistics, first of all, to be able to derive what we call behavioral and social indicators, because then when you're dealing with individuals, you probably need to be able to map out certain patterns, and once we get the remittances as well, depending on the outbound, inbound, as a bank, we can be able to leverage on that data to be able to build a specific credit score for individuals, so that as and when they want to access other financial services that could even include some sort of credits, then we don't spend a lot of time trying to figure out what limits they do qualify for. And I think the other thing about data as well is that data then would sharpen the decisioning in terms of the products, to be able to offer. It would actually be able to give you information about consumer preferences and needs, and therefore, as and when you're interacting with the SACCOs and the population, the rural population, it will not be from a prescriptive angle, but then it's more to really tailor solutions to address specific needs.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot, Betty. And I will stay with you for the next question regarding the value proposition for your organization to invest in the remittance market through a partnership with SACCOs. And in this regard, it would be great also to understand what are the foreseeable challenges to provide remittance under this partnership framework, considering the existing regulatory framework. So over to you again.
Yeah, thank you, David. And I think if we do understand the theme of this session, really enabling rural people to access remittances through SACCOs and fintech partnerships, that really is a value proposition. And for us, we we actually found something that you probably call a latent need that had not been met before. And for us, the value proposition really had to do with revenue generation, whereby the arguable point would be that once we offer the remittances services, we provide additional revenue stream for the bank circles and the fintechs, transaction fees, foreign exchange fees, and other related charges that contribute to sustainable income. Because it's one thing to have remittances in and out, but normally the retention is what would probably contribute to the income. The other thing that we're looking at as well in terms of value proposition is customer retention and acquisition, where we are saying that the retention can actually enhance loyalty and attraction and provide convenience and cost-effective remittances. Partnerships, collaborating on partnerships, because if you see all of us sitting around this room, we have different strengths, and therefore we are looking at leveraging on our synergies. So collaborating with the institutions and fintechs allows utilization of established infrastructure, technology solutions, and expertise, and as well enhancing service offering, of operational efficiency, etc. Most important, and it's something I'd alluded to earlier, is financial inclusion, where we say we contribute to financial inclusion by providing access to formal financial services for individuals who may have limited or no access completely to traditional banking channels, and therefore empowers the recipients to save, invest, engage in other financial activities. I think very quickly I'll just rush through the challenges. And the challenges as we see today is the ever-evolving regulatory environment. I think the biggest challenge that we have today is the challenge of really being able to predict what next. And what we see is regulatory compliance, where compliance now with regulatory frameworks comes at a cost, particularly around anti-money laundering, know your customer regulations being a critical challenge. Adhering to these regulations require robust systems and processes to ensure due diligence. The other challenge, of course, is technology infrastructure, and we are inviting all the circles and the parties to ride on our infrastructure. As Credit Bank, we're on the latest terminals. I'm not advertising T24, but we're on the latest T24 core banking system that is scalable and it has flexibility. And that way we are able to address the challenge of seamless remittances services and improve connectivity and of course, friendly interfaces. At the moment, happy to announce that we are working on our APIs. We have like about 7 hero APIs, and that really helps to ring-fence and integrate an entire ecosystem. The challenges, of course, is operational efficiencies. Also, the question is, how do we come to address this? We address this by streamlining operational processes, such as remittance tracking, reconciliation, fund settlement, and of course, we more or less become the back office. And we reduce the requirement for manual interventions. I think finally is customer experience. That war kind of experience where we want to deliver seamless and customer-centric remittances and offer diverse channels for initiating transactions, so diverse channels so that you're not limited. I think in the interest of time, I'll also just talk about market education and awareness. It has been a challenge because where you do not have information, then there's definitely asymmetry and it causes a lot of distortion. So here we want to raise awareness about the benefits and reliability and of course engage in educational campaigns. We already have what we are calling eHub for financial literacy, and it will not be fair for me not to talk about the challenge of collaborating with regulatory authorities here, where we're saying that we can help shape a conducive regulatory environment. And as bankers, we also sit in the advocacy body of KBA, so we shape the policy, we also run with the advocacy, and also we participate, in terms of bridging in the gaps between what exists and what does not exist at this point.
Great, thank you so much. Very rich answer. And Romana, I wish to ask you the same question regarding the value-added proposition for InterSwitch.
Yeah, for us, of course, we want to bring SACCOs into the mainstream of the payment ecosystem. They are to be considered equal partners, but they struggle with certain aspects, and those aspects are around technology. So if every SACCO in Kenya has to put in a core banking system, some believe they have to put in a switch and they have to put other, solutions like this, it is extremely expensive. So partners like InterSwitch, what we try to do is we share the platform with all the partners, and this is how we can bring down the cost of technology services to the SACCOs. So we're trying to show them that when you share the services together as SACCOs, what you do is you reduce the cost. And when you share the services, then you create an ecosystem with which now you can interact and do various things. So this is a key area for InterSwitch. We are talking about remittances. Today, you want to bring remittances from the diaspora, but we also want to talk about remittances within Africa. And since we are a Pan-African player, we will be very keen to work in this space to ensure that remittances between African countries is also as possible. And we will be able to facilitate that with shared services. Thank you.
Thank you, Romana. Moving to the next question for Juliet. Remittances and financial inclusion, in the sense, how can extending remittances through SACCOs, through this partnership model, can fuel financial inclusion, especially in the rural areas, and how SACCO and partners can leverage these flows of money to enhance resilience and livelihood of a rural population.
Okay, thank you, David. So the way traditionally we looked at financial inclusion as mostly around access. And Kenya is doing quite well in that area. I think based on the last FinAccess survey, Kenya was at, I believe it's 84, 85%. So of course there's still room for improvement, but Kenya is doing quite well. So now, but what we did realize is that even though access was quite high, there's still a lot of challenges, on the ground. And so we like to look at inclusion based more on some different dimensions, and these are basically, are these financial products really benefiting the end users? And when we look at, when we break that down, we're looking at things around, are the services, are they relevant? Are they usable? Are they really relevant to the end users, to the customers? Are they affordable? And can they be trusted? And trust is very key. As a user, you want to be able to be sure, or to have the comfort that in case you send funds to the wrong person, it can be reversed within a reasonable time. Those kinds of things. You don't want your data being used for things that you did not intend it to be used for. So those are things around trust which are very, very key. So the scope of what we look at when we're talking about financial inclusion is quite broad. And so that said, we do see the role of SACCOs play a very key role based on their reach, especially out in the rural areas, because in some places, they're the only financial service point that people can reach. So we find their role very, very key. In terms of how partners and SACCOs can leverage these flows, several areas come up. When we talk about financial services, we're really seeing that there's certain key things that financial solutions and services should address. One is, are they really helping people manage day to day? So this is a huge around payments. Are they helping people be able to, pay and just manage their day-to-day way of life. A second area is, are these services helping people to manage shocks? And this is around if my crop has failed, how has my financial solution or service that I'm using, how is it benefiting or bringing me some value in terms of how I can manage my shocks day to day, or my, my livelihood, which is maybe my cow has died. Are these services that are really coming into people's lives to help people manage those kinds of shocks? And then lastly is the financial services should be helping people to invest for the future. So I want to start a business, I want to save for my child to go to college or to do a certain course. Are these financial products really out there serving people's needs and helping them do that? And definitely last but not least is around, Betty has mentioned that, another area that can be leveraged is around helping just bring knowledge to end users or customers. So the whole area around financial literacy and digital education is very key. So those are just some of the areas that I think. And sorry, I must add that I think one of the key areas that is very key is that enabling environment. So in the domestic market, the environment needs to enable these things. So we're talking about things around, is there interoperability between systems? Because if remittances come in and I have to cash out to do anything, it really limits the kind of products that can be availed. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And this answer, I mean, especially the last part, I think is echoing some other answer in the morning. So I think interoperability is very key to enhance digital financial inclusion and more. So thanks a lot, Juliet. A final question for Peter. We already touched upon the shared platform, the SACCO shared platform Juliet mentioned when presenting the project. And we know that there is an ongoing discussion to set this central liquidity facility and shared platform to be connected with the national payment system. What we wish to know at this stage is, beyond the status, that of course would be relevant for the audience, I guess, how can the facility foster a partnership agreement and additional synergies among the different financial players in Kenya, SACCOs, FinTech, and banks? What are the ultimate benefit for the end users at SACCO level, and what's the potential impact in terms of remittance provision? So over to you to tell us more about this plan that you are shaping. Thank you.
Thank you, David, for that question. To answer that question, I want to step back, and perhaps I think one of the data, as the study is a regulatory landscape, how facilitative, what are the barriers, that would be of interest in the study we're going to be doing now. The SACCO industry, as you speak today in terms of, I just want to give out some statistics. As you speak today, SACCO loans, which is, like I said, asset base of 5 billion, of which 80% is loans, we have about a third of that is in land and housing. We have the second is actually in education, social intervention, education across all the way to university. Then we have agriculture, small businesses, and then consumption and social services. Now, and this is to households and their small enterprises. SACCOs deal with households and their enterprise, whether it's business now. And therefore we are looking, and this they are doing through about 400 points of service, which is 600 is their branches, the branch network, and 3,400 are through agencies' point of sale. Now, you can see that they are growing by leveraging on technology, because these points of sale is basically, leveraging on technology and mobile network. And the question, as we envision, we are saying our vision is to have financially inclusive, member-centric, and stable SACCO industry. And we step back, we ask ourselves, the inclusion Juliet has alluded from this last survey is about 83, almost 84%. But at the core of that is technology, digital finance. That is what is driving this inclusion. But also, the same report says the costs from an efficiency perspective, we've not cracked that. We are still, cost in terms of, our cost of credit, accessing services is still. So we are, and therefore coming with the shared services, we are looking at how do we leverage on economies of scale, because each individual SACCO is building its own infrastructure. Betty has alluded to it. It's costly, inefficient use of capital. So we are telling SACCOs, you don't see a fellow SACCO as a competitor. And therefore we have had this conversation with over 50 SACCOs that you can come together to invest in technology infrastructure where all of you can plug. And that will be efficient use of capital. Two, the resilience from cyber or technological risk you can address from a central. This model has worked elsewhere. We don't need to, reinvent the wheel. We just need to, and solutions exist. If it's say InterSwitch, their infrastructure connects banks, connects SACCOs, and others. So we are telling them this is a model that exists in Kenya. We need to invest in a similar system, because we see whether it's any other provider, whether it's a bank or remittance operators, they'll just plug from one point and they can reach 50 SACCOs or 100 SACCOs. Economies of scale. And through that, then you'll also bring efficiency and standardized processes, because today, as you implement in one SACCO, the SACCO will insist, my processes are like this, my operational like this. You will now start moving the industry to a maturity level where there are standard operating procedures across the industry. And that's really what. Now that will mean partnerships will be easier to plug in, because if it's remittances, if it's payment service providers, or even other products like, letters of credit which SACCOs also have to seek through banks, they can actually be standardized and provided through the shared platform. So you see huge opportunities of deepening the reach for SACCO from financial inclusion. And for remittances, I think it even all these operators they partner with, it will be easier from one standardized platform through which channels can be plugged, security monitoring can be centralized. And we have seen the studies we've done is that most advanced jurisdictions for SACCOs actually have reached that level, because SACCOs, due to the fact that they serve households and small businesses, may not have the huge capital to invest what possibly banks can. But by coming together, they are able to deliver services efficiently. And for households who are actually remitting, and also the beneficiary in the economy, then we see huge, benefits from, delivery of these services to them. So that's why that's what drives us in this, and we can see it's going to be a win-win solution. And there are two that have been launched to date, and the one we've been coordinating the industry is working as well, has support of World Bank. They provided us with support to do the scoping of technology, to do the study from these SACCOs, and I think the specs are ready. So as we go to the next fiscal year, then we are looking at going to market to actually, acquire the technology. But even that technology is leveraging on partnerships. It's not a question of putting, capital upfront. We are looking at partnering with providers like them to come and actually invest, and then the services can be accessed. That we think could bring a lot of efficiency and open opportunities for partnerships. And ultimately, the area like remittance will be much, much easier, because not just domestically, Pan-African, but also international money remittances will be easier to deal with one point of contact. Thank you.
One entry point to access SACCO partnership, basically, that's the envision, a plan for Sazura. Good, thanks. I think we can open the floor for a couple of questions, if any. Please introduce yourself and the organization. Yes. Over to you, yes.
Hi guys, I am Wangeshi Mathenge. An actuary at Inclusivity Solutions. What do? I design inclusive insurance products to bundle with other digital solutions. And I like SACCOs because of who they represent and the kind of access they give us. And I guess my question is to Romana. You talked about a platform that SACCOs can all plug into, and I think, Peter, you've talked about something similar. You are what I would call a super aggregator in insurance, And my question to you is, do you think as InterSwitch, you have a role to play when it comes to bundling remittances with other inclusive solutions like inclusive insurance? Is there a role for you to play given that you have all these circles? Is that something you think about?
Thank you. Just a sec. Let's see if there is another question. Please.
Good afternoon. Thank you to the panelists. Paddy Sianga-Knudsen from the Global Research Forum on Diaspora and Transnationalism. I was just thinking how it's very interesting from the previous session where we were looking at identification and financial inclusion and where sort of migrants and diaspora are portrayed as the risky client. And then when we come to this particular session, and I say that as a risky client, thinking about places where, you know, we've talked about higher KYC requirements targeting migrants and diaspora. Of course, that's in sending countries, but also, for instance, from a receiving country perspective, where you're sitting here, where you look at sort of high interest rates that are charged to diaspora and migrants that are trying to invest back home. And then here in this session, we sort of see that widening of the door, right? It's like, this is the client that you're looking for, the diaspora and the migrants. So I'm also just thinking how the lessons are very important because it's the same side of the sector. And with that, I would say, where do you see your role then as a subsector in the financial sector, working on SACCOs, but also from the FSD perspective, in joining the advocacy that's really calling that we need to understand better the potential of migrants and diaspora in this particular market. So not just looking at the potential client, because other sessions have looked at the bigger problems where they are, but how do you join that space in advocating for your new potential client? Thank you.
Okay, Romana, and then I believe the question from the second question from the audience is for Juliet. Romana?
Yeah, thank you very much. You're right. We need to be able to bundle solutions like, you know, insurance into remittances, etc. But right now, we're grappling with a fundamental problem in this country, and that is bringing people together to share assets. We have to change the mindset from everybody has to have his own little kingdom with his systems. Good tech is expensive, secure tech is even more expensive. And to build good products, you must have an infrastructure to do so. So my big concern is to put in that infrastructure, and I'll let you in on a little secret. This is something we've been working on for years. But finally, when talking to the regulator, the central bank, they have agreed that we work together with FSD and other players in the market, including Sastra, including banks, including fintechs and other switchers, so that we can come together in Kenya and work on our domestic scheme. Now, if you know in other countries, like if you go to South Africa, you go to Nigeria, you go to Egypt, they have domestic schemes where all the assets are interconnected. Now, when we have our assets interconnected and anybody can access those assets, when I say anybody, of course, within certain rules and regulations, then it is possible to build and provide those products. But it is an extremely good idea that we should be enriching our remittance products to include things like insurance. I heard that they're doing that in other parts of West Africa. We heard in the previous session. And certainly we can do that in Kenya. The capability is there, but we must solve the fundamental problem of shared infrastructure first.
Thank you, Romana. Juliet and Peter, or Peter and Peter? Okay.
Yeah, thank you. I think what, as we speak today, Kenya, we've been promoting aggressively diaspora SACCOs, whereas Kenyans who are resident out of Kenya register SACCOs in Kenya. We have Kenya, US diaspora SACCOs, we have Qatar, North America, a number of them, and there are 4 we have licensed. And going to the question of shared platform, we are actually challenging them that they really need to think of investing in a shared platform because of multi-currency and all that, because each again is settling. And that provides a back office. Can you have a back office here, which from wherever you are, one platform, then you can access. So there is that already, that space. And I would even urge that this fifth administration is very specific on tapping to the diaspora market. And we have seen a dedicated, department on diaspora. And we're already in conversations with them to address challenges that diaspora circles are facing. They have written a memorandum on how we can tap their resources and addressing the barriers therefore, it's a conversation that is already happening to see how do we deepen this reach. And that will, of course, will also open opportunities for, again, migrants. So I see opportunities, how, already the work that has happened in diaspora. We have also seen, attempts to actually see how do we bring these, in a more structured way. Because right now, I think we had over 20 of diaspora circles, and we can see some of them, their focus and all by policy guidance collapsing to a fewer, but our main push, we are telling you, it is very difficult for us to deal with. You go to North America, you find like 5, 10 of them. Why don't we create a platform where a shared platform, and that's why we believe shared platform will be will make it more efficient for, regardless of which part of the world you are in, you can actually plug in and access and have a line of sight on your accounts and how you relate with your circle, because we've realized some of the challenges they face is basically operational efficiency, which again technology can address. So there's a huge opportunity on that space. Yeah.
Thank you, Juliet. If you wish to add something.
Okay, I think Peter has already addressed most of it, but I just wanted to add that actually that's one of the key things that we're going to be doing in this, the work that we're just starting now with SASRA and the circles is, I think I mentioned it very briefly, is really having some in-depth interviews with key stakeholders, and these are the associations, and there's several of them, as well as these diaspora circles that Peter has just mentioned. So that's just one of the ways that we're starting to pull in these associations and bring them into. So there's a lot, I believe there's a lot that we can learn from them. Yes, thank you.
Good, thanks. I think for interest of time, it's good to recap the session. I noted down 4 major points that our panelists highlighted. So first one, SACCO evolution is driven by the demand from the customers. Number 2, banks and SACCO can enhance their collaboration with a focus on remittances, and the new SACCO shared platform can provide additional space for collaboration. Number 3, liquidity, IT readiness are key elements for SACCO to partner with bank. And number 4, fintech are crucial to bridge the gap between banks and SACCO in many operational areas. With that, I wish to thank our panelists with a round of applause. And I wish also congratulate with you to be with us until 6 o'clock at the second day. So I think a big round of applause for yourself as well. You deserve it. And I'm happy to invite you to get together and to socialize on the cocktail reception that Tunes offered today. So it's time to get together and have a good talk. So thanks again. Tomorrow the program will start again at 9. Thank you again. Bye, good evening.